Hi, I'm Ryan Szymanski, curator for Battleship New Jersey Museum and Memorial. And now that we've finished redecking the entire main deck, we've moved up here to the O2 level near the ship's expansion joint, which is this thing over here to my right. That's probably your left. And we're going to start redecking this area. This is the next largest patch of deck, and we've got several water intrusion issues in the stateroom and passageway directly below this area. So that's why this was the next most critical area we wanted to hit. We're not really working through the superstructure bottom to top or top to bottom or anything like that. We're kind of hitting it in sections, kind of biggest to smallest. So one of the things that's going to go away very soon is some of our shipboard archaeology that visitors to the museum for about the last decade have been able to see, but is going to get covered up. I'm standing here in the middle of one of the base rings for one of the 5-inch guns that was removed when our Tomahawk missiles were added. The midships missile deck is this structure right behind me, again to my right, to your left. And so these guns were removed partially to save weight. I forget what it is. It's like 200, 250 tons per gun mount. So that's buying weight. It's also because their field of fire is being heavily obstructed. By building this structure here, it prevents them from aiming aft, and by putting the boat davit here behind me, it's really obstructing their ability to fire that way. So these weapon systems are heavy, they're manpower intensive, and they need the magazine spaces for other uses. One of the midships magazine spaces gets turned into part of the radio room. The other one gets turned into a space for some of the air conditioning equipment. So that's another system that they're adding at that time they needed room for. This space below us, which has a little bit of what the battleship would call splinter protection, what the modern Navy would call armor plate. It's something like 2.5-inch STS steel walls and roof on this structure, got converted into one of the harpoon spaces. So it's where you can remotely fire the harpoon missiles as opposed to CEC. If those main controllers get knocked out, then you've got these backup controllers down below in the former 5-inch handling rooms. When they installed this, when they pulled the 5-inch gun out and they put this metal plate on where I'm standing, they then covered it over in Douglas fir. Well, Douglas fir was completely rotted away as opposed to the teak, which comprised the rest of the deck outside of this that you can still see is here. This is some of the original teak, at least original to when the ship was in service, not necessarily original to World War II. Anyway, they covered us in Douglas fir, and that was completely rotted away by the time the museum got the ship. So we tore up the wood in this specific section, and on the starboard side, where the other gun mount was removed, but left the rest of the teak, which is still in relatively good shape. When we come back here and redeck this area, which you can see this area's already been chipped, prepped, partially painted. You can see there's still some areas behind me in the gunnels that need to be done. But then next we're going to rip up all of this old teak, chip it, do the same, and then we're going to lay the new teak. Because this would have been originally decked over in the 80s, we are going to redeck it now as well, which means that you're going to lose the ability to see where these guns were. Those of you in the know are still going to know, and you're going to recognize the handling room there below us, and so it'll be pretty obvious where these gun mounts were removed. But being able to see this base ring won't happen anymore, and so that's why we're making this video today before they continue any further work in this section, so you get what could be your last view of these before they're decked over. Come back in 40 years when we change out the deck and you can see it then too, I guess. We're not sure what happened to the removed 5-inch gun mounts. Technically they were still in the arsenal. However, they were an old system and new ships were being built with newer 5-inch guns. And the Battleship 5-inch guns had splinter protection on them. They had a little bit of armor. So they were slightly different make and significantly heavier than other twin mounts like you would see on destroyers. So it wasn't like they could take these off, put them in the inventory, and then drop them on a destroyer if they needed them. most of those destroyers were being taken out of service by that point anyway. So my suspicion is these guns are scrapped as soon as they're removed. I don't know that for certain. They could have, in theory, been removed to an inventory or taken apart as spare parts, but I'm fairly certain that they're all scrapped once they're taken off of these ships. As certain as you can be without any evidence. So, do you think the Navy should have gotten rid of all of the original World War II era 5-inch guns? They're incredibly heavy and manpower intensive, especially compared to newer 5-inch guns. Or do you think we should have left them? Do you think we shouldn't have put this big boat boom here so that we could have had more of the 5-inch gun mounts? Let us know in the comment section down below. Obviously, it's important to have a rapid-fire secondary battery to supplement the 16-inch guns, which are relatively slow to train and reload. However, there were significantly newer things out there, and potentially, they leave the old ones on there to save money, but potentially it would have been cheaper to replace them with newer systems because they would be less manpower intensive and maintenance intensive over the long run. So let us know your thoughts in the comment section down below. Battleship New Jersey receives operating support from the New Jersey Department of State, also from a number of other businesses and private individuals like yourselves. We really appreciate your support. There's a link in the description below if you'd like to donate to support the museum. You can also support us by liking, sharing, and subscribing so more people find about us and the channel. Thanks for watching.